Hi, and welcome to English-Fabule. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
It was early January 2026. U.S. Special Forces moved in silence under the cover of night. Their mission was clear: capture Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The operation, named Operation Absolute Resolve, happened quickly and without warning. Elite soldiers found Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, and took them into custody. Soon after, they were flown to New York to face serious charges. This bold act by the United States government shocked people around the globe. It showed a new, very aggressive way of using American power in its hemisphere. The administration of President Donald Trump called this new policy the Donro doctrine. It was a strong new understanding of how the U.S. would act in its own region, aiming to reshape it with force if needed. This dramatic event left many people with a big question. If the administration was willing to take such a strong step against a sitting president, who or what else could possibly be next? What other countries or leaders might they target? This book will uncover the secret plans that followed. These plans were not only about targeting other nations or leaders abroad. They also aimed at changing important groups, rules, and even core ideas within America itself. The story of these powerful actions will show how much the world and America began to change in a very short time. With Venezuela's leader now in U.S. custody, the White House did not stop. It quickly turned its attention to a nearby island nation. This country was deemed ready to fall, meaning it was thought to be weak and easy to influence. This set the stage for the administration's next shocking move in the Caribbean, opening a new chapter in its bold agenda. 2. A New World Order. Chapter 2 looked at the Donro doctrine more closely. This was a grand plan for the United States to be the main power in its part of the world. After Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro was captured, the U.S. set clear rules for Venezuela's new government. They had to send away foreign agents from China and Russia. They also had to work only with the United States on oil. The U.S. would take between 30 and 50 million barrels of Venezuelan oil. The money from these sales would be controlled by the U.S. government. These strong actions showed the administration's power. Other countries, like Russia, felt this power when a Russian oil tanker was seized. China's government called this act outright piracy. Next, President Donald Trump's administration turned its attention to the Panama Canal. This canal is a vital waterway for world trade, given to Panama fully in 1999. President Trump said the U.S. should regain control. He also said, without proof, that China influenced the canal too much. Secretary of State Marco Rubio went to Panama to push for more U.S. power there. This idea made many Panamanians angry. Protests happened, and Panama's president, José Raúl Mulino, rejected any plan to give the canal back. These bold moves by Washington made Russia and China very unhappy. China had invested billions in Venezuela. Now the U.S. was demanding Venezuela cut ties with China. Some worried that if the U.S. acted so strongly in its region, China might do the same near Taiwan or in the South China Sea. The U.S. was using economic pressure and military displays to reshape the whole area. While Washington's power play was shaking up Latin America, a far colder and more audacious plan was unfolding in the Arctic Circle. This plan was about getting an entire country from a key NATO ally, by force if needed. 3. the Greenland Plan. The administration's focus now landed on Greenland, a large island located in the Arctic Circle. President Donald Trump made it clear that getting Greenland was an absolute necessity for America's security. He often spoke about Russia and China's growing presence and activities in the Arctic region, which worried the White House. The reasons for wanting Greenland were many and important. Its location offered a crucial strategic advantage for Arctic defense. The United States already had a significant military base there, the Patuxent Space Base. More importantly, Greenland held vast, untouched natural resources. These included large deposits of rare earth minerals. These minerals are vital for making modern electronics and high-tech equipment. Currently, China controls most of the world's supply and processing of these key materials. By acquiring Greenland, the United States hoped to secure its own supply and reduce China's global influence in this critical sector. The plan also carried a strong symbolic message about America's global power. To make this happen, the administration started to put heavy diplomatic pressure on Denmark, the country that owns Greenland. Denmark is a close NATO ally. On January 7th, the White House press secretary made a strong statement. She said the administration was looking at a range of options to get Greenland. She even mentioned utilizing the U.S. military if other ways did not work. To help this effort, Vice President J.D. Vance and Donald Trump Jr. had both visited Greenland in the past year. Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry was appointed a special envoy, tasked with representing U.S. interests and pushing for the deal. However, this push met strong resistance. Denmark and other European leaders, especially those from Nordic countries, spoke out together against the idea. Greenland's Prime Minister, Jens Frederik Nielsen, stated clearly that Greenland was not an object for sale or trade. He emphasized that Greenlanders were a people, a country, a democracy, who deserved to decide their own future. Public opinion polls showed that an overwhelming 85% of Greenlanders did not want to be annexed by the United States. This strong local opposition also fueled calls for Greenland to become fully independent from Denmark. As Denmark and its allies pushed back hard against this bold and unthinkable plan, President Trump was already looking inward. He hinted that he possessed special powers at home. These were powers he believed he could use to reach his foreign policy goals, even without international agreement. He was getting ready to use a powerful weapon. This weapon was not aimed at foreign rivals. Instead, it was aimed at America's own people and its industries, marking the beginning of a war on the home front. 4. The Home Front War. The focus of the administration shifted quickly from countries far away to problems right here at home. This was called a war against the deep state, and it meant big changes for the U.S. government. On January 7, 2026, the president signed a strong executive order. It was aimed at companies that build defense equipment for the country. These defense contractors, as they were called, were told they were not putting enough money into making new military tools. They were not building things fast enough. The order said they often cared more about buying back company stock or giving money to their shareholders than about making important equipment for the military. The administration threatened their profits and their ability to sell products to other countries. If a company did not show a plan to improve within 15 days, it could face serious actions from the government, like the use of the Defense Production Act. The government could also stop helping them sell products overseas, and the Securities and Exchange Commission might remove certain protections for their stock purchases. At the same time, the administration cut many federal jobs. This happened through layoffs, early retirements,
and people choosing to leave their positions. Around 212,000 federal employees lost their jobs during this time. The Internal Revenue Service, or IRS, was hit very hard, losing about 25,000 workers. This was a quarter of its entire staff. Experts warned that tax refunds for people would be delayed, and getting help with taxes would become much harder. Other government groups faced complete changes or shutdowns. The U.S. Agency for International Development, known as USAID, was closed entirely. The Department of Education also began to be dismantled. These big changes were part of the administration's fight against what it called woke ideology. The president and his team believed this idea had spread too much within the government and needed to be stopped. As over 200,000 federal employees were forced out of their jobs, a much deeper and more far-reaching change was just beginning. This next step was not just about government agencies. It was aimed at a way of thinking that had grown common in nearly every major company and university across America. 5. The end of DEI. The president's administration began a strong new plan at home. Its main goal was to stop all diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI, programs. First, official orders from the president ended DEI work inside the federal government. This meant special offices for DEI were closed. Many staff working on DEI were placed on leave. Also, government contracts for DEI training and related services were stopped. This big change started in early 2025. The administration believed these programs caused unfairness and divided people. By early 2026, this plan spread even wider. The administration began to look at private businesses, colleges, and other nonprofit organizations across the country. They wanted these groups to end their DEI programs too. The government demanded that these organizations officially state they were following the new rules. This was called certification. If a group did not certify, or if their programs did not follow the rules, they could face big problems. They might lose important government contracts. They could also face legal actions and fines, causing great economic pressure. This caused a lot of worry and fear across corporate America and at universities. Many companies quickly changed their websites. They removed any mention of DEI programs to show they were complying with the new federal demands. Some tried to change the names of their programs, hoping to meet the new guidelines without fully ending their efforts. State lawyers also began to investigate major companies. They looked for unfair practices based on DEI policies. The whole situation made the future of diversity efforts very unclear for many organizations. It was a time of fast and uncertain change, creating a new landscape for businesses. While companies scrambled to erase DEI from their websites, a more consequential battle for control was being waged in secret, a nationwide effort to redraw political maps and ensure the administration's power could never be challenged again. 6. The election game. The administration of President Donald Trump made the 2026 midterm elections its main focus. Winning these elections was very important. Republicans had only a few more members than Democrats in the House of Representatives and the Senate. History showed that the president's party often lost seats in midterm elections, so President Trump's team needed a big plan to win. Their plan was to change the voting maps across many states. This is called redistricting. Usually, states only redraw these maps after the national census, which happens every 10 years. But this time, the administration wanted it done early,
before the November 2026 elections. This was an unusual and forceful move. They pushed hard for new maps in important states. In Texas, a new map was created that could help Republicans win 5 more seats. In Florida, new district lines were also drawn to favor the administration's party. This move aimed to shift the balance of power in Washington, D.C., giving Republicans a stronger position. The main goal was to lock in a legislative majority that would last. This meant the administration wanted to ensure its party had control of Congress for a long time. With such control, it would be much harder for anyone to stop the administration's plans. But this was not an easy game. Not everyone agreed with these new maps. Many people and groups said these maps were unfair. They argued that the new lines were drawn to help one party, not to represent all voters well. Lawsuits were quickly filed in many states. These legal challenges were very serious. They questioned if the new maps followed the law. All these important cases began to move towards one place, the Supreme Court. The highest court in the United States would have to decide if these new political maps were legal or not. The power to approve or deny these maps, and with it the future of Congress itself, rested with 9 judges. Soon, the Supreme Court was set to hear a series of cases. Their decisions would be huge. They could change America forever. 7. The final judge. The year 2026 began with great tension. All eyes turned to the Supreme Court. 9 judges would soon decide on very important cases. These decisions could change many of President Donald Trump's boldest plans. Each case was a potential check on, or a green light for, the administration's radical policies. One big case was about birthright citizenship. President Trump wanted to stop children born in the United States from automatically becoming citizens if their parents were not here legally. But the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution says that all people born in the U.S. are citizens. Many people thought the court would rule against the president on this important issue. This would be a major setback for his immigration policy. Another key case looked at the president's power to put high taxes, called tariffs, on goods from other countries. President Trump used tariffs often as a tool for his foreign policy. But some people said he did not have the right to do this without clear rules or special findings. When the judges heard the arguments, they seemed to doubt the president's broad power to impose these tariffs. A decision against him could make it much harder for him to use tariffs as a major economic weapon. The court also heard a case about the Federal Reserve. President Trump tried to fire Lisa Cook, a member of the Federal Reserve Board. Lower courts stopped him, saying he could not do this. Now the Supreme Court will decide. This case asks how much power the president truly has over important independent government groups like the Federal Reserve. Its decision would show the limits of presidential authority. Finally, the judges faced a case about election maps. This came from Louisiana. It asked how states should draw their voting districts for Congress. Should they think about different racial groups, as the Voting Rights Act suggests, to ensure fair representation? Or should they ignore race completely, using a race-blind approach? The court's choice here would decide how elections are run in many states. It could greatly change who gets seats in Congress and impact the balance of power in Washington. These decisions were very big indeed. They would come out in spring 2026, just months before the midterm elections. The Supreme Court was ready to give its verdicts.
These rulings could make President Trump's entire agenda much stronger or tear it apart piece by piece. What would all this mean for the rest of the world, for the average American, and for the future of the country itself? 8. Conclusion. The Trump administration made many big changes. This book showed these actions were part of one large plan. It changed things inside America and with other countries. These steps aim to change how the government works and how America acts in the world. First, outside the country, we saw bold moves.
For example, President Donald Trump's administration acted in Venezuela. They also wanted to buy Greenland for important minerals and defense. There were plans to get more control over the Panama Canal. These actions showed a new way for America to use its power in the world, often called the Donro doctrine. Inside America, there were also big changes. The government let go of many federal workers. This affected agencies like the IRS, meaning people might wait longer for tax refunds. Programs for diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, were stopped in many places. The administration also worked to change election maps, hoping to keep power in Congress. These domestic actions were part of a fight against what the administration called the deep state and woke ideas. These changes touched ordinary Americans every day. New taxes on imports, called tariffs, could make products more expensive for families. The loss of federal jobs affected many communities, slowing down government services. Looking ahead, the administration has more goals. These are part of Project 2025. They include plans for schools, healthcare, and border security. These future steps could change America even more. This time is a very important moment in American history. People will soon decide in the 2026 midterm elections if they agree with these big changes. Their votes will show if they want this new direction to continue or to stop.
What do you think will be the biggest challenge for the country in the years to come?
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.